All right, well, let's get into your whole life story. I want to know where you from, where you grad, and what was it like growing up?
Okay, so where I'm from Oahu in Kailua, Enchanted Lake to be specific. Public school all the way, Keolu Elementary, Kailua Intermediate, Kailua High School. And what it was like growing up was awesome. I loved my childhood. I loved the community I grew up in. Great friends, great family. And the best part of it, and the thing I'm most grateful for, is that at the time, I absolutely knew how awesome it was, right? Like, I had friends that were always talking about, like, oh, I can't wait to grow up. I can't wait to get my permit. I can't wait to get my license. I can't wait to go away for college or get a job or whatever. And I was like, no, like, I'm good. Like, this is fun. Like, riding my bike to the beach every day. It was awesome. And yeah, I'm just super grateful that I grew up in a great place and surrounded by awesome people. And that was my childhood. Yeah.
And then I'm guessing you played a lot of sports.
I played baseball and basketball primarily all the way through until high school. And that's when I kind of got into the TV thing. Yeah, it was just year round. It was just one thing after the next. And at that time, it was just so easy, right? Because like you're just riding your bike after, to practice, after practice. Some of the sports, my dad would coach me, and so he'd take me, and you just build friends. You always had like this big group of friends, no matter what, at every time of the year. And yeah, it was awesome, man. I loved it.
Yeah, it makes me really appreciate my childhood because I had a similar one where my best friends to this day are all from sports.
Yeah.
All in Hilo, and we grew up playing soccer together. One of my best friends, we were on our first soccer team together that his dad coached. So it totally just connects you with people, like-minded people, and then also teaches you so many life lessons. That's what I always tell people. I mean, the people that don't put their kids into sports, like I noticed my little brother, and I'm always gonna, tease my little brother a little bit because he didn't play sports growing up like us, and we all say that he's soft because he didn't. He never got that like do bear crawls or do sprints or had people yell at him, growing up. So I feel like that really toughens you up.
Yeah, and even beyond that, it's just like the commitment, right? And it kind of trains you for later in life, and whether it's school or working, of just like, I have this commitment. I have to be here at this time. I can't be late or I got to run laps, right?
Discipline.
When things get hard, it's like, well, I got to finish this season out. I got it, and so I think that's the biggest thing. I mean, obviously the friendships and being able to kind of work with people that are different than you and all that is really important. But the main thing is, I think it sets your work ethic moving forward, is what kind of person you are in that realm of like taking orders, being told what you got to do, where you got to be, and how you got to do it. I think that helps you moving forward big time.
Right on. Did you grow up with siblings?
Yeah. So I have an older sister, 7 years older than me. So she kind of grew up more like a mom. It was like a second mom. I mean, I remember, I want to say I was still in elementary school when she left the house for college, right? And so she would come back, and so it was like having another mom. And then I have a much younger sister that came much later. And but yeah, so it's just the three of us.
Okay,
yeah.
so basically your brothers were the people that you played sports with, and your friends, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay,
sure.
Cool. How was it growing up in Kailua back then? Because we always hear now that it's changed so much. There's barely any locals. Is that true?
Yeah, I'll say this, that when I graduated from Kailua in 2000, I want to say, and I could be wrong in the number, but probably close to like 300 seniors that I graduated with. I mean, it was hundreds of classmates that we walked with on graduation day. And then 19 years later, the class of 2019, I was asked to speak at the Kailua High School graduation. I did the commencement speech. And I was blown away because I'm standing up there on the podium and I'm watching the seniors walk by, and there were like 80-something seniors. And just so in 19 years, that's how different it was, and that's how few graduates they were at that time. And I remember asking one of the teachers that I had at the time, like, what's going on? Why is there so few people? And he kind of just told me that like there just aren't kids here anymore. A lot of the families moved away. They went to the west side, or the people that are coming in and moving into these houses are retirees, or they've already have kids that are older, and because those are the only people that can afford it right now. Like the average local family with 2 kids that are in elementary school, they just can't afford it. So they're going other places. And so that was kind of eye-popping, because when I grew up, in that Enchanted Lake area, there's 3 elementary schools. There's Keolu, Enchanted Lake, and Kailua. And that's like a 3-mile radius, a 3-mile circle, oval. And 3 elementary, I mean, that's how many kids there were. Like in our Little League, we had Kailua American Little League and Kailua National Little League, because there are too many kids for one.
Wow.
And that's just in Enchanted Lake. So, and now I heard that there's only 1 Little League, and there's so few teams that they got to go play like Aiea and Pearl City. And so
Crazy.
It's just a different time. So yeah, growing up at that time, I haven't been back since, after I graduated from high school, I left and I haven't been back. I haven't lived there again. And so I don't spend too much time there, but, my friend group from high school, there was about 15, 16 of us, like half boys, half girls. And I want to say maybe 1 still lives in Kailua,
Oh, that's
and the rest, like I live in town, got a bunch of friends that are in Ewa Beach or Mililani Kapolei area. Some moved away. So yeah, I imagine Kailua is pretty different now than it was when I was growing up.
Wow, that's crazy. It makes sense though, with all the older people moving in and buying up land and stuff. So especially near Lanikai, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so after you graduated high school, what did you do?
So after graduating from high school, I was working at Safeway in Enchanted Lake.
Nice.
I had like a part-time job at the YMCA. I was going to school at HPU. And then that's when I got my first job. Was like, I was 19, so maybe it was like 2 semesters into college is when I got my first job in the industry, first paying job at KITV. And so there wasn't much time. After high school, I got right into this profession, and I've been doing it ever since. And so there wasn't much, when you think about like, okay, that time between high school and then getting into work, like I just kind of didn't have that. I kind of jumped right into it. So there wasn't much time. Yeah.
So you already knew what you wanted to do. You didn't want to go to college or leave or become some astronaut or something.
Yeah, no, I mean, so I was fortunate enough to, kind of like becoming a Saints fan. That it happened around the same time. I was like 6 years old, and it was from my parents used to watch the news every night, and they would watch KHON. And so I loved sports since I could remember. And so when the sportscast would come on, I would get excited and I would watch like intently. And so when the questions would come up, when you're 6, of just like, what do you want to be when you grow up? You want to be a cop? You want to be a firefighter? You want to be an astronaut? I would say I want to be Les Kiter. And that was the sportscaster at the time when I was a little kid. And so people would have to tell me, though, that's called a sportscaster. And so I'd be like, all right. And it just never left. And so the older I get, from 6 to 7 to 8, and people would ask, what do you want to be? I want to be a sportscaster. I want to be a sportscaster. I want to be. And so I don't know if this all started because of that.
You put it out in the universe.
I just put, or what, but this is just all I've ever wanted to do. And it's more than just being a sportscaster. It's like being a sportscaster here in Hawaii. Like that was special. Always the dream. And so, yeah, I was just really fortunate, because I think a lot of it has to do with just knowing what you want to do, right? Like, and once you know what you want to do, it makes it a little bit easier as far as kind of chasing it. And so I was really fortunate at a young age to know what I wanted to do.
That's amazing. I feel like most of our life is just trying to figure out what we like and what we don't like.
Yeah.
Right? Especially our whole adulthood is like taking these classes in college or working a bunch of different jobs, hanging out with different friends, just trying to figure out who you are. But it is awesome that you're able to just know from a very early age. That is just, truly a blessing.
Yeah, for sure. And it wasn't easy. I'll tell you kind of the story of how I really got into the profession. And, truth be told, like I was not a good student. And so much so that 7th grade, I failed. I had to go to summer school to get to 8th. 8th grade, I failed. I had to go to summer school to get to 9th. Ninth grade, same thing. 10th grade, same thing. And it was always like math and science, right? I mean, so it wasn't like I was like completely flunking out. There were these classes that I would struggle with. And it was always bizarre because I'd be getting an A in writing, A in history. I'd be one of the editors of the school newspaper and flunking at the same time. It was like this really weird dynamic. And I had this friend, Nathaniel Conley, who was a couple of years older than me. And he was also into journalism, and he was going to Bradley University. He was about to leave. And one of the graduation gifts that his parents got him was this. They got it at an auction. It was like meet the KGMB crew behind the scenes, go out to dinner with them. And that's Hawaii News Now, one of the stations, or KGMB. And so he won this thing, and it was supposed to be just he and a guest. And so he and his dad were going to go. And the day of the event, he calls the event organizer and says, hey, I have this friend that I think would really love to come. Can I please bring one more? And they said, yeah, sure. And so he called me and said, Robbie, we have this thing we're going to go to. I know you're super into, the news, and you want to be a sportscaster. So why don't you come along? You check it out. And so I was like, okay, yeah, total homie. And so I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And so we go, and Kim Janala was the weather anchor at the time, and she was the tour guide for this whole thing. And so she was absolutely awesome. And so we go and we check out them. We watch them do the news. We check out the newsroom and all that. And then we go out to dinner. And it was at dinner, and she's kind of going around the table and asking Nathaniel, what do you want to be? What do you want to do when you get to school? And then so she comes to me and says, oh, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to be a Hawaii sportscaster. That's all I've ever wanted to do. But I'm not a good student. I'm probably not going to college, so I'm probably not going to do that. And bless her heart, in that moment, she's like, I think you can do it. I just met you. You're likable, and you can't teach people how to be likable. And I was just like, wow, thanks. And so she asked me, do you know who Neil Everett is? And I said, yeah, that's your sportscaster. That's my favorite sportscaster. And she said, well, how would you feel if I asked him if maybe one day you can come by yourself and just check out what he does? And I was like, yeah, like, where do I sign?
That's awesome.
And so she's like, okay, well, we'll stay in touch and I'll let you know. And she, at the time I had a pager, right? Like it's back in the day. And so she pages me the next day, and I call her back. And so she says, I talked to Neil, and Neil said he's down, but if you're serious about this, you'll call and you'll ask him to come yourself. And so I was like, whoa, okay. And so I call Neil. I'm super nervous. And I'm like, oh, hi, this is Rob from Kailua. And so he's like, okay, you come by tomorrow at 3:00. And so I was in summer school at the time, trying to get into 11th grade, right? And so after summer school is POW, I jump on Route 57, Honolulu, Ala Moana, and I go down to the station, and I spent that work night with him. It was awesome. I shadowed him the whole day and the whole evening, and it gets to the end of the night, and it's supposed to be like, all right, nice meeting you. I'll never see you again. You take care. And at the end of the night, he told me, he's like, I got a deal for you. If, because I had told him my situation, and he said, when the fall starts, I want you to go back to school and show me your grades every week. And if you bring your grades up, you can come back every week if you want. But if your grades go down, then you're not welcome here. And I was like, wow, okay. And just like that, man, like my grades, I went to a 4.0. I finished out those 2 years of school just doing awesome. I got a full ride to go to HPU to do radio for them and PA announcing. And I did that for 1 year. And then shortly after that first year of school, a job opened up at KITV, and I didn't even apply for it. But because I had been around through my junior year, senior year, that first year of college, I still interned at KGMB that whole time. And I was going out on interviews and meeting people. And so when that job opened up, Robert Kikaula said, come work for me. I'll pay you now. Like you'll make some money.
Awesome.
And so I dove head first, and I tried to do school and work at the same time. But it was too difficult. Like the hours, I think, are the thing that people don't realize, especially in sports. That, I mean, there's not a day I work less than 10 hours, like ever, right? And typically it's 12 hours, and some days it's 15 hours, right? And so eventually it was kind of like I was met with, okay, what do I do? Like I'm going to school, I got this scholarship, but I'm going to school for this job. And if I try to do both and I, slack off at work, like, will this opportunity be there later? And so it was a difficult decision. I had a lot of people at the time telling me like, nah, you need to go to school. Like, you need to finish school. And then, but I kind of just said like, okay, I'm going to try and put everything I have into this and see where it takes me, because then if it doesn't work out, then I'll go back. And, but now I'm 42 years old, and, and so it worked out. And I wouldn't suggest that for everybody. Obviously, that whole how I got into the business and everything is super unique. And so that situation was unique as well. But, I had an opportunity and I just took it, and I wasn't going to let it slip away. So.
Yeah. Well, you put in the work, luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Absolutely.
So, you were prepared, and you've been preparing since you were 5, 6 years old.
Yeah.
So you just, when the opportunity came, you just grabbed it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And the people, I think that's the thing too, is that, because like I said, I did the graduation speech at Kailua, and I talked to a lot of teenagers especially, and I tell them all about that story. And the one thing that's like super important to me that people understand is that, like, look, I'm not telling you that story so that you'd be like, oh wow, that's so inspiring. Rob, worked hard, and Rob, like, to me, it's more like I want you to be inspired by Nathaniel and by Kim Janala and by Neil Everett. Like, those are the people, like, right? Because if any one of those people didn't do what they did, I am not doing this. Like, it's just, right? Like, I needed Nathaniel to give me that opportunity to identify like what that would mean to someone. And then I needed Kim, just this absolute stranger, to like believe in someone that they don't know, right? And then Neil to just be this incredible mentor and offer this motivation that obviously that's what I needed. At the time, I thought I was working as hard as I could in school. I thought, right? And you could see by like what I told you too, where, I'm getting A's in these classes, but I'm failing these classes. And, at the time I was telling myself I was doing the best I could. I was working as hard as I could, and it's just not working out. But then once Neil gave me that motivation of like, if you don't improve your grades, you're going to lose this opportunity. Then all of a sudden I was able to do it. Right. And so those are the people that I think are the most inspirational, and the ones that I hope a lot of people can be motivated by, of like, wow, I could change someone's life just by doing like a little simple thing,
Yeah, what a beautiful story. Yeah. And it just goes to show that, having connections and, trusting people and believing in people can go a long way.
Yeah.
They say that people are inspired by, people are motivated by two things: inspiration and desperation.
Yeah.
So I think for you, it was like a little bit of both. You're always inspired to become a sportscaster, but you were desperate to get your grades up, so you had to like put in the work. So and
especially at that time, because at that time, right, it's kind of like what I told Kim was, I'm not a good student though. I'm probably, so it's like I had this dream, but even at that time, at 15 years old, like it wasn't reality. Like it wasn't anything that I actually thought I was gonna do. But then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it was like, oh wait, like I can get my foot in the door like right now if I just take care of this. And so it changed everything.
Yeah. Sounds like a movie. I feel like that'd be a good movie. Struggling student, supposed to become a sportscaster, gets a shot day of with his friend to meet the people on the news, and then somebody says she believes in him, and nobody's ever told him they believed in him before, and then meets the top sportscaster in Hawaii and becomes the next great sportscaster in Hawaii. I can see a movie right there. A 30 for 30 documentary.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe like OC16, not quite Disney.
16 for 16, not 30 for 30. They should do that. 16 for 16. 16-minute short films about Hawaii sports.
Love it.
Yeah,
love
I'm gonna produce that.
I was gonna say you got your own production company here, so I mean,
I guess maybe a couple of years. Definitely have to be filmed between February and maybe August before football season starts.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.